Well, hello everybody. How are we doing tonight? Thank you so much for stopping by. We got Doll, we got Shito. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. How are y'all doing tonight? As I sit here frantically attempting to get all the matcha tea ready. Sunmar, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. We are going to be swapping back from our ceremonial matcha to our original Bag O organic Japanese matcha, still brought to us by Jade Leaf, a fantastic company. Phoenix, how you doing, mate? Thanks so much for stopping by. Oops, I am. As you can tell, it is a lab coat open kind of day. It was what was it? 5C earlier today, if I remember correctly. It was proper cold, and it was fantastic. Got to bust out my my pea coat that I haven't been able to wear for God knows how long. And I prefer the cold. I'm one of those people that prefers to be cold over being hot. And then it just shot up to what was it, 21 C, I think, and it just ruined the whole day. It's like, why America, why you got to do this to me? How is everybody today? Well, we got amazing night for me watching how the American voted. Oh Lord, I will be perfectly honest. I've taken a stance of blissful ignorance to all of that shenaniganery. It is absolutely not something that I am particularly inclined to follow. Why am I using C? Because Fahrenheit never really made sense to me, despite the fact that Fahrenheit is ubiquitous everywhere. The metric system in general always just makes more sense to me, but at the same time, I don't know what it was about Fahrenheit, but me and Fahrenheit just never got along. So Celsius for life. Let's see here. For me, it's hot at 21C. Yeah. Although, let's see here. Which, by the way, I should probably do the... Nope, that's not right. It's... Yeah, that was not right at all. It was more like 25C. Yeah. Please forgive. I was remembering the earlier pieces. 21C is somewhere around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly. Which 70 Fahrenheit is cozy for sleeping. It got up to about 25C is the correct temperature. I was reminiscing between the difference between my garage and the outside, which was oof. 20C is what's usually considered room temperature. Ah, that's a very And the friend who likes it when it's around 40C. I think so, Phoenix. I think so. But you know what? If that's your preference, enjoy. Why should you be considered a freak just because you enjoy warmer temperatures? Just saying. I should also mention that we do have a new redemption option, because I finally replaced the ceiling fan that is in this room. The original ceiling fan was great, but the fan itself was a little... It was more like an asthmatic kind of going on you instead of actually being a proper fan. So, yes, but one of the major benefits of this, other than being that I am not hitting my head on it constantly, which is fantastic. Noob Fox, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. more importantly, this ceiling fan supports my Hue bulbs.
Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
Thank you so much for the follow, Noob Fox. Welcome to the lab. Digital lab coats will be available upon request. However, we cannot guarantee that those coats will actually fit because they are digital. And if there's anything that I have learned about, me as a developer, I can't measure shit. So minor details. But yes, we do have changing color lamps now. So I figured, what the hey, let's make that a. Ooh, that is concentrate. Let's change that to energize. I figured, hey, why not? Let's give people more things to mess with me. Oh. Let's see here. I hope with low humidity. Yeah. See, that's a problem. Is that where I live, it is humidity is just a way of life, and I hate it. I do hate it. I experienced no humidity heat, I want to say somewhere around 16 years old, give or take. And it changed my perception on the weather that I endured on a day-to-day basis. Oh, I should probably turn that fan off. Well, question to the chat. Can you all hear the ceiling fan? Because if you can't hear the ceiling fan, then I'm probably going to leave it running. But if you can hear the ceiling fan, then I'll absolutely turn it off. No, nope, yes. I can actually wear the coat and not die internally. All right. So, I did post, and I should actually probably check in on that. Just a couple. I did post that there was basically a poll out for interest as to whether or not we wanted to continue working on the bot, or if there was any interest in moving on to something new. What that something is, honestly, I have no bloody clue. When I made that poll, I kind of made the poll, submitted the poll, kind of pulled it out to everybody, and then went, what if everybody chooses something different? I am not prepared for what something different would be. Let's see here. But in general, it seems like people are relatively fine with sticking with the bot. So just wanted to double check on stream. I am not prepared. This is true, Phoenix. So did just want to double check on stream just to make sure. Are we feeling like continuing with the bot, or do we want to move on to some other nondescript project? For me, both is fine. Okay. A man of neutrality. I genuinely can't decide which I like better. Do I like the standard matcha, or do I like the ceremonial matcha? It's a hard choice, actually. But either way, as long as it's from Jade Leaf. Let's see here. So in the interim, I am going to go ahead and pull up the bot. So let's go ahead and pop that over to there. Well, that camera looks a little scuffed. Yeah, there we go. And let me bring this back over here. Okay. And actually, let me move that a little bit. I was playing around a little bit with trying to get a camera arm for the webcam up here, because it was brought to my attention that when I accidentally hit the table, webcam starts shaking, and I am not a fan of that being a thing. So I was looking into what it would possibly take to get a camera arm set up to do to basically hold this off to the side, or maybe ideally hold it like in front where it is, but just on an arm. Details. Alrighty, so where last we left off with the bot, if there are no major objections or riots towards continuing with the bot, we had started down this path of making the bot easier to just run. I realized that I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail as to why I was doing that. So I don't know if I've showed this on stream or not, but when I start stream, I'm basically running a collection of shell scripts. And those shell scripts are the things that position the windows. They start the applications. They resize windows and put them either on the left side or on the right side, depending on what it is. On the right side is everything that you guys see. On the left side is everything that only I see, as kind of a stream management mechanism. And it's a shell script that does that for me. Well, at this particular point, the bot has actually gotten to a point that is quite useful. So what I would like to do is to be able to just start up a version of the bot locally and maybe possibly turn features on and off. That last part is more of a loftier goal, I suppose. But it was something that kind of brewed through my head because that startstream.sh, that start stream shell script, is basically, or would effectively just be calling out to a binary of the bot and saying things like use a in-memory greeter, or maybe just use no greeter at all. Maybe there's an option for a no-op greeter. Maybe this version of the bot is only a logger, so I can just kind of have a little chat window off on the side. So that's kind of the idea. And that was the kind of the motivation behind adding new versions of the secret store, adding new versions of the ledger, so on and so forth, and allowing me to just start the app without anything else. And most of that was just because I wanted to simplify my shell script, to be perfectly honest. Now, something that was brought up in the last stream, in kind of that same regard, is this idea of a factory. So we actually have a couple of versions, if I remember correctly. We've got a file-based ledger, we've got an in-memory ledger, we've got the Redis ledger, and then for the greeter, we have, and then for secrets, we have just the ENV store and the Vault store. I don't imagine that the ENV, or that the store is really going to change too much. It'll just be do I use Vault or do I not use Vault? Still trying to figure out how I want to handle that. The ledger is definitely something, and I do see another possible option here, which would just be don't really bother with the ledger, but we'll see. So with that in mind, oh dear, let me close that out, bring that back up, and come back to main. The other idea, the other thing that was kind of bubbling around over the last weekend or so is channel and nickname. Channel and nickname feels like something that should be external configuration at this point. I feel like we have long since graduated from these particular variables being just hard-coded in the application. So this is something that I also wanted to address. Now, in order to do this, the question becomes, how? On the one hand, I could have those configurations read out of the config file. I'm not sure how I feel about that, personally. Just purely because while things like message configuration by channel and other bits like that seem to make sense inside of that YAML file, channel and nick kind of don't feel like they belong there. Channel and nick feels more like something that should be passed in when the application has started, perhaps. Perhaps. Maybe, possibly. And now my brain is whirling even further. Sorcery, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. Just gonna do our obligatory sorcery command, which is gonna confuse the crap out of me, because it's technically sorcery is a command that sends the command SO at Sorcery and Sarcasm, which then is a Streamlabs message. Brr. It's like details. Let's see here. Maybe these should be saved in the vault. Interesting thought. So the only thing that that kind of catches me about them being in the vault is that, number one, they're technically not secrets. They're technically just switching. It's just switching logic. The thought there being that if I wanted to start an instance of the bot that connected to MedgeLabs, then it would be bot for MedgeLabs and nickname of MedgeLabs. If I wanted to connect this bot to another channel, maybe we finally actually get a bot account for this bot with a proper, OAuth flow implemented, and we start using the nickname of that bot. Then there's kind of an opportunity there to basically switch back and forth relatively easily. Also, sorcery, we will never stop shouting you out because number one, that is insanely rude, and number two, you can't not shout out the amazingness that is the Sorcery and Sarcasm stream. Do you even understand? I have no idea what that accent was, but it came from a place, from a school, from a time in school a long, long time ago. And yes, I did not get along with that individual. Either using a constant and building the binary with concrete values, or env variables, or flags. We could also go the flags approach. Which technically flags is just another input mechanism, all things considered. At this point, we're just talking about the kind of broad concept of external config. And for all intents and purposes, channel and nick being external configuration, it's kind of it falls under the same pattern. But what I was thinking, I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do this, but I was thinking maybe it would make sense to just do flags for those two. And this was the usage, by the way, that I had in my mind. Something like bot channel MedgeLabs nick MedgeBot, or something like that. The reason that I kind of want something like this is because if I can run the bot parameterized like that, then there's a handy dandy little Elgato Stream Deck that has buttons on it, and those buttons can be assigned to shell scripts. And if I can apply that shell script to one of those buttons, then effectively to start up the chatbot just as a button. I would love to have a button. A button for the bot? Yes, please. I am simple man. I see button. Button does not have purpose. I implement button. End of transaction. How I missed the flags. I can't blame you, all things considered. So for anybody that is unawares and is kind of staring at me like, huh? Which, if you're not staring at me like that already, my people, how you doing? Flags is effectively these here. This right here, this dash channel, that's a flag. This dash nick, that's a flag. And then the value coming after it is the flag value. And Go has a built-in package for parsing flags on command line. Why is that not a standard thing? Like, we've been having flags in shell scripts for decades. Why do more languages not have that feature? Why? Anyway, so Go comes with a flag parsing library. It has its quirks. I will say it's not as fully featured as some of the third-party alternatives. At the same time, though, I kind of like it. I kind of like how simple and how simplified it is. So let's see here. What are we looking at? This is more or less what it looks like. So you import flag, and then you just declare your flag as flag.datatype. The name of the flag, which is what you would actually pass on the command line. A default value, I think is what that is. And then a description for that flag. And BT dubs, you can automatically assign a help. Which, if you've ever written a bash script and you've ever tried to write a bash script that parses this and also tells you what commands are available, that's some manual maintenance. Just saying. So that's what I'm thinking. If I take flags and pop that in for channel and nick, technically speaking, I could also use flags as the switch mechanism for... Maybe I just default the bot to start up the Redis ledger and the Vault data store. So we kind of default to production, if you will. But if you want to change that behavior, then you specify a flag that overwrites that behavior. Personally, I kind of like defaulting to prod behavior. At the same time, there is a little bit of a possible danger in doing that. Maybe. Depends on how diligent you are. And it also depends on what exactly you're doing in that prod mode. Ooh. That is some good tea. It has been a day to have some good tea. I appreciate it. So, because the channel and nick are low-hanging fruit, I think I'll attack that first. Which, if I remember correctly, this would be... We can pull these guys up to here, and instead of channel being just a flat string, now we do have the interesting note of the hash. The hash. I don't know why I went Sean Connery for a second there. I don't know why. I don't know how to handle the hash. Do we expect the hash? Or do we try to do a little bit of logic to say, hey, if you have the hash, fantastic. If you don't have the hash, we'll add it for you. I like ease of use, personally. Flag.string. This is going to be nick. The default value is empty. And then nickname to join chat with. Yes. Depends on the documentation. I could also just make that an error condition. I say we do it without the hash, because if the hash ever goes away for any particular reason, then we can deal with that in the code. Let's do that. Let's do that. Flag dot string. This is going to be channel. This is going to be empty, and channel name without the hash to join. Now, this came up in in kind of a side conversation, but I did feel like addressing it here, which is the idea of multi-channel, and kind of talking about the difference between a bot that can actually handle multi-channel and a bot that can't. I am not personally fully qualified to really talk about that subject, but I think I have the high level. Number one, a multi-channel versus a single channel bot literally just means, do they join multiple Twitch channels, and are they able to process messages from multiple Twitch channels? I don't really have any intention of doing that right now. If we were to build this in a more commercializable fashion, that is absolutely not a word. But that's the benefit of being a developer. We make up words every day, and somehow those words make money. Not entirely sure how, but magic. So yes, if we were to build this in such a way that we would effectively attempt to commercialize it, then yes, the ideas of multi-channel and basically creating multiple instances of the bot for each channel that we are connecting to and so on and so forth, that would be something that we would absolutely want to consider. However, right now, my sole focus for this bot is single channel. I kind of want it to work. I want to build out the functionality as assuming a single channel, a single user, so on and so forth. And in theory, maybe, probably not, but maybe, later we'll look at what would it actually take to turn this bot into a multi-channel bot. Which, by the way, at some point I do also plan to show the joys of, well, what if I wanted to swap Redis? Like, what if I wanted to turn this thing into a database instead of Redis? I will purely do that for demonstration purposes. I will not do that because I actually believe that that's the better approach. Just saying. But, so again, for now, I would like to focus on the bot in a single channel context. So in this case, a command line flag for channel and nick, to me, seems to make the most sense, I think. Also, this is absolutely going to cause issues because now that is a pointer. Oh, nope. No. We need to access the pointer. Which I guess technically, yeah, let's deal with this up here. Yeah. Not an @ sign. @ sign is the @ sign is the address. Address operator? Yes. And then I still have an ampersand there. Mick? No, Nick. Yeah. There we go. Okay. This does technically break things. Technically. Break things in the sense that it breaks some of my scripts. And this is probably one of them that I would need to consider. Golang flags with go run. Can you literally just do... No, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do at all. Shenanigans. Am I going to have to do a go build now? Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Build flags, exec, xprog, package, arguments. Maybe not. Let's see. Go run main.go, channel. Which, yes, I do need to add the hash back to it. I cannot type worth a damn today. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. We should probably call this something like channel raw, and then channel equals fmt.sprintf hash. Yeah. Hash %s. Channel raw. Do something like that. Just found out I need to program Haskell this semester. Would one consider this language easy? I've never had contact with it. I personally don't find Haskell to be easy, but I don't find it to be astronomically difficult either, I guess is the way that I would put that. Yeah, Haskell is probably going to take some exercise. I would strongly consider... Oh, I hear the cat. Not only do I hear the cat, I hear the cat chewing on something. Cat, what you chewing on? Sketchy. Come here. You want to make an appearance? Come here, you. Wah. There you go, everybody. Free cat cam. Boop. She is on the prowl for something. And I'm fairly certain she's chewing on something, which is like... let's see here. But yes, I think that Haskell is going to be one of those languages that if you've never used a language like Haskell before, you are absolutely going to have to take some... You're going to have to practice with it a little bit. On top of that, if I remember correctly, Haskell is the pure functional language, so welcome to the wonderful world of side effects being forced to the edge of your programs. That is something that is probably going to take some getting used to. My experience with Haskell is about that big, give or take. So I am by no means an expert in any capacity. But, yeah. Get a good old stretch. Thank you, Shito. Sounds like fun. I feel like Haskell will either make or break you as a purist functional developer. If you just absolutely do not take to it, then welcome to the wonderful world of hybrid functional languages. They're a lot better. But if you really take to it, you may never be able to go to a language like Scala. At least not with something like ZIO or Cats Effect or anything, or Cats in general or anything like that. Alrighty. Let's see what we got. What do we got? So that should bring us into a flag. That should more or less, I think, be okay. And what I can also do is if strings dot has prefix channel raw hash fmt or log dot fatal f, because basically at that point you've entered invalid input. Fatal excuse me, fatal channel cannot start with a hash. Yes. Which technically it's not, it's just fatal, really, or fatal line. Sure. I actually didn't know that there was a fatal line. That's interesting. So basically the idea here is that it's the channel name without the hash, and then if I forget or if I accidentally pass in a hash, then it's basically a you are not starting the command properly, so bail out and tell me why. There's also a and then we're gonna have to do a flag dot parse. I think I brought in something that I didn't want to. Nope, still just flag. Okay, perfect. So this will actually parse these flags. And then immediately after that, we're going to go into our Viper configuration. And then... is there anything else that I wanted to do here? Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I guess technically, I could say here, if nick equals empty string, then log dot fatal line fatal nick cannot, or nick empty, something like that. And that's just some very, very basic error handling for flag inputs. Although I'm curious if order of operations is that I can actually do these checks here till here. I feel like I'm gonna have to call flag.parse first. We'll find out. Still want to keep that as the local file ledger, I suppose. We'll get to the factory here soon. Got our ENV store, we got our greeter. Now, what was this? Oh, this is a duplicate. I was like, what is this code? What is this code that is existing in my code that I wrote? There's something fishy about that. Oh yeah, by the way, did anybody forget that we're still doing that? Because I did. Did I forget that I'm doing a time.sleep every second just to keep the main thread going? No. I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like there should just be like a shutdown hook on the bot itself, but I like having to do no in my code. Why not? Let's see here. So we'll do a channel and nick come from the command line. Okay. I have a feeling that by doing flag.parse here, but doing the error checking up here, that this is not actually going to work the way that I want it to. But we'll find out. Let's see. Channel command not found. So that may stop us dead. Oh, we need to do a source and a local. Oh yeah, this is still yeah, it's still doing a thing. Okay, so I'm fairly confident I have to do this. Then flag error handling. So it'll look something like this, which will then give us local.sh. Now, let's just keep running it this way. Technically speaking, I'm constantly stopping and restarting Redis and Vault, which I don't really want to do necessarily. Oh, what's going on? I think I might know what that is. Go build -o bot and bot channel Medgeland. What exactly is Medgeland, you may be asking, and the answer is don't ask questions. Bot channel. Oh, do I need to do a chmod plus X? Oh, nope. Did I do a dumb? I did a dumb, I think. Let's just call this Medgebot. Medgebot. Yes. Welcome back, Noob Fox. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Medgebot. Nick is empty, but the Nick is right there. What have I done? Whoa, tech stuff. That is roundabout the experience that I usually get from people. It's like, yeah, this is that there tech shit. Why? Can you try without the star in front of flag.string? So doing like a dat and dat. Dat would then become an issue because these are it's attempting to compare a string to a pointer to string. Now, but I wonder, because you might have a point on something here. And there's technically that form as well, but yeah. Non-Boolean flags only, which is more or less what we're doing here. Show me an example. Show me that they're doing string var. Did some big brain stuff I can't compare to this code. You would be surprised at how simple this code actually is. But to be fair, I've been writing this code since it was nothing. Like, it's easy for me to say that because I've been writing this code since the beginning. Yeah. Can't you copy and paste? I can copy and paste. And then a coding class and it worked. I usually don't condone copy and paste as long as you understand what it is that you are pasting. Tiny bit of story time. I worked as a teacher's assistant in college, and there was a very well-known site for solutions to these problems, these project problems that I won't reveal for obvious reasons. And it's surprising the number of people that copy and paste that code verbatim. Like, you don't even change the variables. You don't change the variable names. You don't change the casing. You don't move stuff around to make it a little less obvious. Nope, just straight copy paste. But I never liked calling people out directly, even though I am a very direct person. Because when it comes to things like, hey, if this is something that is just like something that needs addressing, just address it. Why sugarcoat it? But it was always fun, admittedly, to send them a message and ask them to explain the code. Or even better, we always had this thing where when you submitted a project, you had to submit an explanation of how the code worked, how to run it, how to build it, yada yada. And it was very fun to watch the people that copy and pasted the code just flounder. Like, they had no idea why the code worked. They just knew that the code worked because the autograder told them that it worked. And then they just kind of left it there and went along their merry way until I had to go and be that asshole and ask him, like, so explain to me how this code works. I would like to think that I wasn't a mean TA. I feel like somebody is going to tell me otherwise. Okay, so something that I'm noticing is that the use of string versus string var, which the use of string var is kind of interesting because the use of string var also allows me to declare the longhand and the long form and the short form. So like in this case, they're using string var to assign to this gopher type variable. And so the only difference between flag.string and flag.string var is that flag.string returns a pointer to a string, whereas flag.string var takes the address of a variable to mutate. And yes, normally I'm like, no, don't be mutating them there variables. But it's kind of fine in this case because these variables don't go anywhere, number one. And number two, this actually gives the code the opportunity to overwrite the value for the shorthand if the shorthand was provided instead of the longhand. Longhand, long form, whatever. Teacher, so how does this code work? So, it does the thing, and then it works well, and it prints the result. That is actually most of the responses that I get. Or I get the regurgitation of the description of what they were trying to build. It's like, yes, you have provided code that provides the solution, but how did you get to the solution? Tell me, what is this code that you have so surely written do? By the code, man! Are you mad? You copy and pasted, and you didn't even change the original author's name? That, to me, was probably the best part. The best part was that they were copying and pasting this code, and at the top of that code was a comment with the original author's name. So my eye sees that comment and immediately go, I spy Command-C and Command-V. Oh, what fun this will be. All right, so step one. I think we're going to change this. Var channel string, var nick string. And then we're going to do, not that. We're going to do flag.string var. This is going to be at channel, name, default value, description. Then exact same thing for here. String var. Going to add Nick. I forgot where the ampersand was for a second there. And then this is no longer a thing. It's just channel. Channel. Oh, right. So we can just do like that, allegedly. I don't really like that, but let's see how it does. Hey, string var. Da-da. All right, we have a story. Okay. My ex-CTO was so dumb, he was copying a fix for ads from the Skype chat with timestamp and name, login via SSH root, and changing the ad banner code with the fix. I had to pause there. Oh, that is so good, Cheeto. That is so good. Same thing with just copying and pasting in general. When you are about to copy and paste something, confirm two things. Number one, what you are pasting. And number two, where you are pasting that thing. Because, yeah, details. What am I drinking? So in this lovely little cup, we have a cup of delicious organic Japanese matcha brought to us by Jade Leaf, available on Amazon. And then in this monstrosity, we have just plain old water. Because as much coffee as I drink during the day, I have to offset the caffeine with actual hydration. Sad day. And that, kids, is why you use tests and you don't push everything straight to production. But, doll, we got deadlines. Why can't we test it and prod? Oh, me. Don't push directly into prod, folks, unless you have a CI/CD pipeline. If you have a CI/CD pipeline and you have a proper test suite, then sure, push directly to prod all you want. And by push directly, I mean indirectly by going through the pipeline and going through your checks and balances so that you know. This was 2012. I remember those days. I do remember those days. Like, why use version control when we can just have a folder on the server and we can just make the changes to the folder? All right. So, now that we have Channel and Nick starting up, there is also one other thing that we do need to do, which we need to pop into our Docker file. Because our Docker file currently has no flags. So we have an option. We have a couple of options, I think. Sorry, can't think of one. Welcome back to the lab, mate. Thank you so much for stopping by. We have an option. Vent1C, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. We have an option here. I mean, we could just be lazy and just hard code it to Medge Labs. But I think it makes more sense. Also, I don't think that we're actually going to be able to do that form anymore. Yeah. So the thought there was that originally, or at least in quote-unquote standard Docker, you would typically do this kind of bracket notation where the command and its arguments are all basically just elements in an array. But I think there's still a problem with this, and we will validate this. I think there's a problem when you try to do this. env nick equals medglabs. If we were to do this, then we wouldn't be able to interpolate. We wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, and by the way, I am absolutely somebody that believes in uppercase because I am an old school bash bro. Channel. However, I think there is still a problem with this not actually interpolating, so we will find out. That KCA, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome back to the lab. String replace lazy with explicit. I like where your brain's at, KCA. I feel like if I made a really simple robot, my mind would instantly just think Cyberpunk 2077 memes. Okay. I can't count the number of references that I have received over the years whenever I do something like a chatbot, or if we do actual robotics, which I have very, very minimal experience in, or even just a CLI that responds to like simple commands. I can't count the number of times that I've gotten the HAL 9000 reference. They're like, oh, just wait. Whenever that program gains sentience, it's going to chop your liver out. It's like, first of all, chop my liver out? Second of all, my input and output program? Huh? Let's see. Ooh, keyboard song. All right. Let's see if this still works. Sound check. How's that sounding? I'm trying so hard, but I can't think of it. Nope. At some point, I will learn how to play Song of Storms on this keyboard. One day. But not this day. Thank you for the redemption sheet, though. That has been a thing that a couple of people have thrown at me. Be like, dog, you have a keyboard that can play music and you haven't learned how to play Song of Storms? It's like, it's a keyboard. It doesn't exactly have, like, a note chart. Now I'm just playing around. Oh my goodness, look at all these scaredy cats in the chat. We got cats in the chat. Somebody's... I was gonna say somebody do something, but why? I like cats. I have 3 of them. I have become the crazy cat man. Alright. I shall take my leave. I need some sleep. Take care, Medj. Thank you so much, Phoenix, for stopping by. Hope you have a good one and sleep well, mate. And again, thank you so much for stopping by the lab. Excuse me. Okay, so I don't think that I can do this, so let's find out. Shall we? Let's close that out. This is absolutely gonna die. This is absolutely gonna die. See what happens. Oh, look at that. Look at all that. Look what it did going on in the crit roll pyramid. Oh, my goodness. Taking off too. Thank you so much for stopping by, Sorcery. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Sleep well. And I am so looking forward to stream tomorrow. Just saying. Go build Medgebot. Medgebot doing a thing. That groggy mode is so good. Buddy. I'm following Phoenix into the abyss of sleep since stream is 1 hour later. It's pretty hard for me to catch it constantly. I appreciate it, doll, and I apologize for the timing. But thank you so much for stopping by. I do appreciate you stopping by the lab. Have a good one. Sleep well, all of you. Appreciate it. Get Twitch token from store. Twitch token not in ENV. Oh, right, because it's in the ENV right now. It's not in the... Whoops. Sleep well, Sorcery. And sleep well, doll. And sleep well, Phoenix. Sleep well, all of you. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is not... this right here, this is not ideal. This is absolutely what we do not want to have to do. Ergo, we are absolutely going to implement this here... absolutely going to implement this here factory today. I'm the last one standing. I appreciate it, Noob Fox. However, if you are feeling sleepy, if you feel like you need to take off, do please take off. It will not offend, I promise. I would much rather you get some good sleep than sit here and watch me do ridiculous things. Let's see here. Docker, fire off the Docker. By the way, I was looking into, while this is kind of doing its thing in the background, I was looking into the PubSub channel for Twitch. And this is a very, very interesting concept. PubSub, by the way, is a publish subscribe. So it's effectively think of it as kind of like a you can choose to be in a room, and inside of that room there is somebody talking about a particular subject. So you going into that room, you are going to hear the things that are being talked about, the subject that is being talked about in that room. That is effectively subscribing. The publishing is the individual that is standing in that room talking, giving you those bits. In the case of Twitch, what we can effectively do is we can subscribe to certain channels, or certain topics, as they call them, and we can listen for things like bits. So we can listen for when somebody cheers bits. We can listen in for channel points, which is a big one. Channel subscriptions. Chat, which I'm not entirely sure if I want to do anything with that. And then whispers, which would be very interesting. This does require channel ID, which channel ID in this particular case is a Twitch API call that would potentially need to be made. But... so in effect, it would be subscribe to the Bits Events V1 with our channel ID, or whatever the channel ID is for the thing that we are joining. And as long as we have the Bits read permission, then we could basically subscribe to Bit Events, which would be super, super handy. Same thing that would be for bits, for redemptions, for subscriptions. That'd be fantastic. No follows, though, which is very interesting. Seems a useful way to get structured data out of the chat without having to do lots of string parsing? Possibly. And that's what I was looking at earlier. So the receive message, if I scroll down, so they give examples of what the message would actually look like, which is really handy. I'm not really fond, if you will, of this kind of like embedded JSON in a JSON string. I'm not very fond of this. I'm not really fond of nested JSON to begin with. Like, if this was just a data field and the object was just like, if it was just the object, the JSON object that was being passed down, great. Something tells me TypeScript is behind this. I feel like there's something over here that is TypeScript oriented. Either that or it's a generic model, and they were like, what kind of type are we gonna have for the message? It's like, we can't really have a generic type because the generic type will require generic typecasting, and then we have to manage that, and we have to deal with that everywhere around the code. Hey, why don't we just make it a string? And then we can just do JSON.parse everywhere, or JSON.stringify everywhere. Why? Okay. But looking at this was very interesting. This was very interesting. The world should use more proto, then you don't have to deal with parsing. I will say, Shito, something that was very, very fun to do in an older a previous company that I worked at. We had a lot of Apache Spark jobs, and a lot of those jobs were built off of database schemas. And so writing Scala code to connect to those databases was really time consuming, especially when you're talking about like 100+ column tables. So I got really bored of doing that, and I just wrote a generator. I think I wrote it in Groovy. I'm fairly certain I wrote it in... It was either Groovy or Scala. Did I write it in Scala? Nope, I wrote it in Scala. That's right. And all it did was read the DDL and spit out a Scala file. That's all it did. It spat out a model and an ORM model that we were using at the time, and I can't remember what the ORM was. It's gonna bother me. And then the last thing that I did was, for debugging purposes, I spat out a HTTP server that had endpoints that expected those models, and a little bit of processing and some error handling and so forth. And all I did to do that was just parse text. Like, as an input to this thing, I read in the DDL, and then as an output, I spat out a file that just happened to be formatted Scala. And then the Maven build process kicked in. It was great. And I like that Proto basically does that, but without me having to write all that code. Let's see here. What else do I stream apart from technology? Nothing. This is basically it, Noob Fox. I am just a person that is coding on the interwebs. I feel like at some point somebody asked me, like, as some type of a milestone, if I would play some game on stream at some point. Open to the idea, but it would have to be in place of the coding stream. So maybe, but for right now, we just writing some code. We just writing some code and having fun with it. Now, where are we at? Ooh, yep, okay. So, can confirm that, unfortunately, it is not possible to interpolate those variables. So this is what I was talking about from earlier. KCA swearing at Kafka? Now, why would you do that? Is it because it's a ginormously complex piece of software that really has no business being normally complex in this fucking form? No, it's absolutely justified for being a very complex piece of software, considering the use case. So bleh. I started to say one thing and then I said another thing and then it didn't work. So this form inside of a Docker file, when you have this kind of bracket notation for how to run a shell script, you can't do this. You can't interpolate variables like you would normally do in a bash script, which makes me very sad. Like, at the same time, though, I'm not really a fan of this notation anyway. So the fact that I can just kind of do something that looks a little bit more bash natural, if I can use that as a word because reasons, I'm fairly confident that you just have to do that, I think. So let's get that running and catch up with chat. You'll take RPC patterns from my cold dead hands. I do kind of wish that that some of the projects that I worked on use a little bit more proto. At a bare minimum, like if we're going to be doing bloody microservices, then at least use something like a binary protocol that auto generates the models, the server code, and all that fun for me. Like, please. I'll say I really like this. I feel like this is a class I'm taking in school, but the teacher is super fun to listen to. Oh, thank you, Noob Fox. I appreciate that. The whole goal of this was more or less just to kind of show what it looks like when I'm coding in the real world, which is not perfect. I don't know the answers, and it's a lot of Googling and a lot of trial and error. So I'm glad it's enjoyable, though. Cheers. All right. We back. So now, unfortunately, it's going to start greeting everybody again. So I'm just going to go ahead and curl there real quick. Noob Fox, KCA. Yeah, there we go. Spec first for interfaces with good code generation and back and forward compatibility is incredibly brilliant. It really is, KCA. Like, it really is. All right. So let me just do a quick. We don't want that, actually. Hold on a second. RM bot mejbot. Yes. Anything else that shouldn't be here? Dockerfile's good. Go.mod is good. Local.sh. Let's do a git diff real quick just to make sure. I didn't want to commit these changes at this point just because. Have to get some chocolate. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Dockerfile, clean up the Dockerfile. Channel and Nick are now environment variables. So we fix that. This apparently became a direct dependency. Don't know why it wasn't previously, but oh, maybe it was an indirect dependency of one of the other bits. Maybe. We fixed our local.sh script. We got our flag. That's now swapped back to Redis. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a git add main.go, go.mod, Dockerfile. What was the other one? Local. Git commit channel and Nick are now CLI flags. Huzzah. How long does coding take average? Kind of depends on what you're working on. Yeah, it kind of depends, Noob Fox. I mean, it can be anything from a couple hours to days to weeks to months to years even, depending on the scope of what you're building. The company that I currently work at, they've been working on their product now for something like 7 years, I think. So, really depends. You know that situation where you go to the kitchen for some chocolate and you come back with ice cream? All the time, Shito. All the time. All right, we do need to update our get ignore. This just needs to be the Medgebot. Git commit. I'm gonna be lazy and just do an amend. And there we go. All right. Now we need to talk about some factories, because if you didn't know, computer science really likes to take a lot of cues from. I can't even finish that joke. Oh my goodness. So, factories. TLDR. A factory is effectively a piece of code that, given an input, will give you an instance of an interface as an output. That's a fancy way of saying, if I have, as an example, the ledger interface. The ledger interface is just an interface. It doesn't declare how something happens. It just declares what should be there. There should be a method called absent that takes a string and returns a Boolean, and there should be a method called add that takes a string and potentially returns an error. In terms of ledger implementations, we have the Redis ledger, we have the in-memory ledger, and we have the file ledger. Now, what I just did a moment ago, coming into the code, choosing the implementation that I wanted, and then basically commenting out things, that's not great. That's what we call unnecessary manual intervention. Basically, you're putting a human into the process, and we don't want humans to be in the process. For all the worry and the paranoia about not allowing the the robots to rise up, become sentient, and take over. Putting aside that paranoia for just a moment, we don't want humans to be coming in here, especially right before prod, and being like, oh yeah, so we actually don't want the file ledger anymore, we want the Redis ledger. So we're just going to come in here, we're just going to comment that out, make sure that is, and off we go. No. No. We don't want that. What we really want is an automated fashion, at least to some degree. We basically want a switch. We want something that will allow us to say, hey, I want a particular implementation whenever I say that I want a greeter, or I say I want a ledger, or I say I want a store. But if I give you an input, then I want, say, if I give you a flag that says I want a file ledger, not the Redis ledger, then I want that factory to give the code that is expecting a ledger the file ledger instead of the Redis ledger. That's the TLDR for what a factory is. There is actually a proper definition. It sounds a lot better than what I just rambled off. But a factory will help us kind of clean up this mess. And the question becomes, where does that factory live? And how do we trigger that factory? Now, this is something that I have not consciously done in Go. Which, if you look up the factory pattern, you will get all kinds of articles and videos and explanations about how that actually works and blah, 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 blah. And technically speaking, even though I don't prefer to call them this, these constructor functions that we've been adding to our structs, they are technically factories, all things considered. Now, what does a factory look like in Go? As far as I'm aware, yeah, it's still just a thing that returns a thing. This is unnecessarily complex. Blech. Nothing that really sticks out to me. Okay. Which, mind you, we could be really bloody simple. We could be so simple that all we did to swap between, say, Redis versus in memory is we could just add a flag. We could literally add a flag that, say, looks something like this. Var ledger type int, and then flag.intvar. This is not how I would actually recommend doing this because, yeah. Or maybe we could just do var. Actually, I think we would want this to be a Boolean. Probably. But anyway, so the idea there would effectively be that if I started the application and I did something like bot Redis, then by passing the Redis flag, that would effectively be my indicator of, hey, when you ask for an instance of the ledger, I want you to receive the Redis ledger. And with that in mind, then the ledger would then do something like, I don't know, switch on ledger type. This is like bone simple factory, by the way. Case one, you could say var ledger type, and var ledger is a ledger. There we go. Ledger equals ledger dot new Redis ledger. Case two. Ledger equals ledger dot new file register. Register? Ledger? Hello? Details. Technically speaking, if I had this in a method, said new ledger, and it took as an input the ledger type, and it returned a ledger, then technically this would do more or less the exact same thing, without all the fancy details. Is that how we want to do it? I'm not convinced yet. What kind of cats do I have? Let's see here. So 2 domestic short hairs and 1, I think she's either a domestic medium hair or she's a Russian blue. I'm not certain. Let's see here. Oh, I see one of them. Give me just a second. Somebody redeemed a cat cam. They want to see the boy. Hi. Here we go. Let me scoot that down just a little bit. This is Toby. Toby is the sweetest little snuggle boy. This is what he does on a fairly regular basis. He just likes to sit in laps. He likes to curl up under chins. Overall, he's just a very sweet, snuggly little boy. He's a very old, well, not very old. He's like 11 this year, if I remember correctly. My buddy. So that's Toby. He's one of the domestic short hairs. Go on, buddy.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Guitar, thank you so much for the raid, May. Welcome to the lab, and welcome, Raiders. Thank you so much for stopping by. Did you manage to catch the Toby? Aw, hey, buddy. He's so over it. He is definitely one of those cats that is that is just kind of happy to be here. Why not take this opportunity to brew yourself a cuppa? Appreciate you, Infinite. And everybody, do give, if you have not already, do give Guitar0183 a follow, a look. He is a fantastic streamer. He's a very wholesome streamer, one of my good friends, and overall, I'd say a very wholesome stream. So if you have not already, do go give him a look. He is fantastic. Horror, Guitar, Infinite, thank you all so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. How are y'all doing tonight? How was, it was Hollow Knight tonight. Do tell. Do tell. How'd it go? I love the aesthetic of Hollow Knight. I've never really played it, to be perfectly honest. There was a point where I had the opportunity. Well, actually, no, that's not true. That is not true. Sorcery did actually get me. What was it? We were playing it on the Switch, I think, for a little while.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Spooky, thank you so much for the subscription. Welcome to the lab, lurking while working. Thank you so much. Welcome, you are officially an honorary lab assistant. And that is, they subscribed for 2 months. Thank you so much, Spooky. I appreciate it. How are you doing tonight? I know you're lurking, so don't bother answering if you are, if you need to. Oh, I love that bloody cat emote. Marmy Doremi. Ooh, so good. I love those emotes. They're so cute. Let's see here. Now, Shito, if you are still around, what was your thought for what the factory was gonna look like? Oh my goodness, so sorry. My brain just stopped there, and I don't know why. Let me see. What was I doing down here? Ledger.new file ledger versus ledger.new Redis ledger. What happened to my ledger? Hello? Oh my god, my ledger done burned. COC has effectively destroyed itself. Ledger.ledger type ledger.ledger. Uh-oh. The ledger turned into a medger. So that's why it's not working. I thought about the same, but with a string. Aha. That is absolutely fair. And agreed, not inside main. Yeah, you can't shadow package, last I checked. Yeah, so this is var error and ledger error equals ledger error equals You do a thing. Cannot use ledger value type ledger diverse ledger as a ledger and value time a missing method absent. How goes the exploits of Hackaman? It's going pretty good. We oh yeah, I don't have the bot running. What am I doing? What am I doing? Help. Well, it's probably not going to work now because we have this stuff in here. Let's get that out of here. Get that out of there for just a second. Let's put that down into here. BRB, no worries, Nuke Fox. Bit. Was that a Tim Allen impression? Remember? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes. Okay, that should work. Local, do your thing. Where's Wilson when I need him? Tim the Toolman Taylor. Get a Tim the Toolman Taylor and just that one dude that's just hanging out over the fence like, Medj, you doing all right over there? Kind of looks like your bot wasn't compiling. Like, yes, Wilson. Wasn't compiling. Shit was breaking. Everything was on fire. It was a good time. I'm just talking about it. It was a good time. Let's see here. How would we want to do this? You know, this is a very good question. Because I'm not gonna lie, I do have a little bit of PTSD when it comes to factories, because of the abstract factory pattern. So like an abstract factory that generates a factory which generates an instance. Just give me the bloody instance. Stop making abstraction layers just because you want to feel special. Am I a salty dev? I don't know what you're talking about. But at the same time, the idea of a factory, like the generic idea of a thing, an object, a method, whatever it is that you call, you give it an input and it gives you that generic object of an output. That to me just kind of feels like it should be fine. Let's give it a shot. Let's add a ledger factory. And then let me just go ahead and restart COC. Let's not change the code. Let's restart COC. Thank you very much. And then, oh no, we need to do leader PF. This will be ledger factory, package ledger, and then func. New ledger type. Ledger type is a string. Sure, why not? And this can either return a ledger or an error. Something like that. Now, the interesting thing I'm having a thought as to how Yes. So sorry. So it's not compiling because I'm not doing this, or more succinctly, it would be Redis error equals new Redis ledger host port, and then out of here you would do return Redis error. However, what's kind of giving me pause for thought here is this dependency. And this is what often kind of kills me about factories. You're effectively pushing the requirements of you're pushing the dependency of how to actually construct this further down into some nondescript object. Welcome back, Noob Fox. Thanks so much for coming back. Don't know what happened to my voice there, but it was fun. So we could do a couple of things here, I think. Const. So the constants are going to be things like Redis equals Redis. File equals file. And mem equals memory. Something like that. And these are more or less going to be our strings. So acceptable types of ledgers. And then what we could do is we could do things like switch on strings dot to lower ledger type case Redis, then just move this guy up, case file, equals new file ledger. Oh, we need to var file os.file. We're just gonna copy that over, and then this is return file error. Default return ledger fmt.errorf invalid ledger type something like that. We can't do that, so I'm gonna have to think of how to do that. No? It should be. Cannot use file as io.reader. Missing method read. Did I do something funny in main? Am I having a stronk? Highly plausible, actually, the more that you think about it. Okay. Interesting. Just plonk that right there. You are absolutely right on that part. And then we wouldn't have that. That would just be like so. Just kind of slowly piecing these things together. Oh, thank you for the stretch, Noob Fox. Oh, I needed that one. Oh, so what happens when you code for 12 plus hours a day? I can also feel myself just slowly leaning forward. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you so much for the hydrate guitar. Okay. So, only problem is that we can't do that. We could also cheat. Technically, we could cheat there. Yeah. Oh. That's where that sound is coming from. The sound is coming from the ceiling fan. Yeah. Okay, so what I just did is I just changed the data type to a pointer to get around the fact that for the default case, we don't really have a way to return a default ledger. And as Shito is currently yelling in the chat, don't do that. Don't do that if you can possibly avoid it. It makes your function really annoying to work with. So if we do that, and we do that, oh, we can technically just return nil. I didn't know that. Or I feel like I did know that. Maybe I didn't know that. Huh. Case mem. Mem error equals new in memory ledger. Return mem error. Except that this cannot fail. It is actually impossible for that to fail, as far as I'm aware, unless the allocation for the map succeeded, or unless the allocation for the map failed, which if the allocation for the map failed, then the entire application is just going to go kaboom. So I think we're okay there. The problem with interfaces and pointers, if you use a pointer, you really want a pointer to an interface and not an implementation of that interface. And what we're kind of seeing up here, and the reason that I'm having to return the address of the ledger instead of the ledger itself, is because of the use of pointer receivers as well. Which in this case, I mean, the reason that I'm using pointer receivers is because I am mutating the file ledger. So, or at least state in the file ledger. So I did want that to be a pointer. But in order to return a non-pointer, we have to return the address of the ledger, which is interesting, confusing, and also just one of those things that I feel like you just get used to at some point, hopefully. Okay. This is seemingly functional. Seemingly functional. Now the question becomes, I'm personally not a fan of exposing raw strings to users. Like for example, I'm not a fan of doing something like this, bot and then ledger equals Redis, where that Redis has to match that Redis. The only reason that I'm not a fan of doing that is that, number one, I don't get automatic documentation of the values that are considered to be proper. And number two, that's basically exposing the implementation details of how I represent the different ledger types. And that's exposing that outside of the code. And by doing that, I have now become kind of shackled to that implementation. If I ever wanted to change, say, Redis to 1, file to 2, and mem to 3, I couldn't do that without first checking with all of the users externally that may be using those constants, which, technically speaking, that user could just be me. And to what we saw earlier, where I had to add those flags to the Docker file and to the local.sh file and so on and so forth. Scale that up to a factor of however many interfaces you have, it can get really nasty really quick. What I prefer is just having something like this, which I'm not sure that I'm really fond of, or it'd be more like a Redis ledger or just Redis, depending. So it'd be something like Redis ledger and Vault store. I feel like I want this form. I think. Does that buy me anything is the real question. Things to consider. Same thought here, but then you have to deal with user input and multiple ledger types. Technically, yes. So it's kind of trading instead of accepting a string and then basically just passing that string as is to the new ledger function and just letting this do its thing. Technically, instead, I would be inside of main.go up here. I can't remember. I think it's just flag. Or maybe it is Boulevard. I feel like Boulevard is what I'm looking for, which I think Boulevard shows up if there's just, if the flag is just present. Okay. So maybe boolvar is not what I'm thinking of. Go flag, no value. Or is it? Is it just a bool? Oh, maybe it is just a bool. Aha. Okay. So the thought here would be something like, now this is where things get a little interesting because there is technically this this possibility that you could end up with you've effectively got a matrix of or a truth table of values, and the only accepted values are true, false, 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 true, false, or false, false, true. So checking for that is gnarly, if I remember correctly. And effectively what we want is we just want to be able to say one exclusive or everything else. I could just use exclusive or. And again, this is the whole point of this is kind of getting to that point of I just want to be able to say dash Redis dash ledger. So we would say var. Now this is admittedly more complicated. This is more complicated than just doing something like ledger type as a string and then doing string var at ledger type ledger. By default, we could set this to ledger.redis, and then usage is ledger type string. Ideally, this would have an indication of accepted values. So it would be something like options however we wanted to do this. I guess this would probably make more sense to do an sprintf here. But you get the idea. %s, 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 and then this would be ledger.redis. And this is one of the problems, which is that ledger.file, if we added another ledger, we would have to remember to add that option to this command line flag. Otherwise, if the user runs the help command and that's not updated, if we added a database ledger, for example, and we didn't update this command, then the user is not going to know, unless they know the code, that there is a database option. But admittedly, this is a hell of a lot easier. And I'm kind of starting to convince myself a little bit. I'm fighting with the desire to have the thing that I was talking about originally, with the desire to not write that code. Which in this case, by the way, this would become fatal. Oh, what would it be? Create ledger %v error. Which, by the way, we would need to take these. If it is a Redis ledger, these would need to be here. I'm legit folding over on my brain right now as to how I would want to do this. Because that is what the code would effectively look like. Instead of having all that switching logic and then blah 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 blah, more or less. Oh no, I want to keep that. More or less, it just becomes a function. So this new ledger function is now our factory. And then based on the ledger type code that it receives, it will return the associated ledger type. I'm just not much of a fan of this part. I'm not a fan of saying dash ledger equals blank, which technically, if you don't pass it, the way that we've got it set up right now is that it's defaulting to the Redis ledger. But it's so simple. It's so simple, and that's what's killing me about it. It's so simple, it's so straightforward, and it's so easy to break. For the sake of time, since it is technically at that part of time to end stream, I think I'm gonna do the same thing for the secret store. And then this will probably be something like, will this be, oh geez, what happened there? Change to that. Store dot vault. And then secret store type string. And then the options here would just be, which more or less, chat, I'm kind of falling into that mode of like make it work, make it right, make it pretty, in that order preferably. So if we had something like ledger dot, or not ledger, but secrets dot vault and secret dot env. Secret store factory.go. Restart that, leader pf, go into the store factory. And then more or less copy paste what we did in the previous instance, only this time we would have vault equals vault, and then env equals env, func new secret store, store type is a string, and then that will return a store or an error. See, copy and paste works? Technically speaking, I said copy paste, but then I didn't copy paste. Because I am a dingus. Strings dot to lower. Store type. Not yet. And then we would just basically do the exact same thing that we did on the ledger, and we'll kind of see how that goes. Okay, but I have to leave now. Late again. Have fun. Was really cool. Thank you so much, Cheeto. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a good one, mate. We're probably gonna stop here in just a second. Let's see here. So if this is case vault, then we're gonna do a thing. Case env, we're gonna do another thing, and then default, we're gonna panic like nobody's business. And then we're gonna come back. We're gonna paste format .arf invalid store type. Store type. No, I do not want to bring in a dependency on etcd for this code. Appreciate it, but no. Let's come down here. Let's grab that code. Let's come back. So vault will look like that. This will look like that. And then we don't need that. We then do the oh Jesus. We then yeet our code into the abyss because apparently the Cthulhu monsters are very, very, very hungry. Here we want to do return nil error. Otherwise, we return store nil. Sorry, chat, just kind of copy pasting and making sure that I am copy pasting properly. Yes, which I did just realize that I didn't do a thing over here. Oh, right. And then here we can just return store error. We get back to the thing and we're back to where we were. Oh. All right, chat. We're slowly getting there. So now if we come back down to here, or this would be secrets.vault, not store.vault. All right, chat. We're almost there. So then we come down here and we say store equals secret dot new secret store of secret store type. And technically this would be error let's see here. Here we would have to do another, now that we have a new error, fatal, create secret store, and then password we try to get from it. Now we can get rid of all that code. And now the moment of truth. We just barreled through a lot of stuff there. But more or less all we were attempting to do is get us to the point where we could do a go build -o Medgebot. Oh, we done goofed. 87, they said. This is the problem. Oh, right. Because now the ledger is just a ledger. We don't have to do a pointer to it. Okay. So now we got Medgebot, Channel, Medgelabs, Nick, Medgelabs. So this would be ledger is file and store is env. Oh, and now you get to see the help function because that's a thing. And then I think if we do Medgebot-H, this is what I love about Go, is that it just generates this for you. And if you have a default value, it tells you what the default value is. And it tells you, hey, these are the options that you have. This is the description of those options. It's so good. Yes, sorry, I can't think of one. This is why I write all my CLIs in Go. You remember the chunk o' bash that it took to add flags into a shell script? Like, oof. Meanwhile, Go is like, hey, we'll do that for you. It's so good. Now, I am noticing a discrepancy here, which is the ledger versus ledger type, and then store versus store type. I think I want to make that consistent. And I'm going to make it consistent by just making this store. Oh, right. Go build. I still use it. Me too. Fatal, get Twitch token from store. Fantastic. Source the token. Holy shit, it's still working. That awkward moment when you've written all this code, you've gone through this process, and then you get to the end, and then you run it, and then it works. And you don't believe that it works, but for some reason it works. Chat, we done it. We done a thing. We've done another thing for tonight. It seems like a small thing, and it is a small thing, but I like it. I like it. We've gotten to that point where the code is starting to become more hygienic. And as the code becomes more hygienic and the easier that the bot becomes to use, the more likely I'm going to use it. And that's kind of what I'm going for. These are going to be inputs for factories. Error handling. We've got the config. The ledger is doing ledger things. The secret store is doing secret store things. We've got factories that allow us to... Now, the thing that I am going to show, though, real quick, and then we'll end on that, is the whole options thing. If I wanted to add another option for, say, a new store, here's the steps. First... Oh dear. First, Vim's gonna die. Yeah. I can only do that ever so often. Leader PF. There we go. First, we would have to come into factory, and then we would have to add another instance here, which would be, say, DB. Now notice, by just adding DB, nothing has failed, nothing is broken, everything's fine. So let's say we added DB down here. So okay, return nil fmt dot error f. Don't use this. Just auto fail. Okay. And then we have to go back into main.go. And down here, we have to add an option for db, ledger.db. Oops. Dip. There we go. And now we've exposed that option through the rest of the code. And it took a while to get there. And I don't like that. I don't like how that currently works. Oh, thank you, Noob Fox. Oh. Cheers to you. I don't like how many steps we have to go through to do it. So we might add a something to help us out along the way for next time. However, next time, I think I am very interested in looking into the pub sub. Let me just do a quick gcommit real quick. This will be add factories for Ledger and Secret Store. And let's go ahead and push that up to main. And now let me bring this back over. So this is basically meeting my needs, my requirements for making this as just a self-contained binary that I can just run. And so now what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take this code and I'm going to start adding it as buttons to my Stream Deck so that if I join a stream, for example, I can just turn the bot on. There is still another piece of functionality that I didn't get to implement today, which is things like to do turn bot features on and off. Whether I do that on stream or off stream, still to be determined. I'll probably do it on stream, considering, because I like coding with you guys. It's fun. But that's something that is also particularly handy, because maybe I'm going to join a stream, but I don't actually want the bot to be greeting people. Maybe I want to turn the greeter off, and I just want to have the bot streaming out messages, which is possibly a thing for my stream. I may just turn the greeter off for a little while. Who knows? But that's something to dig into next time, I think. So before we close the lab down for today, are there any remaining questions? Anybody curious about anything? Or shall we just call it a day? As I get my my Amazon Web Services bill, a total of 52 cents. Oof. Breaking the bank today, I swear. How was my day? It was pretty good. I had a hard time sleeping last night, so it was one of those, like, I was trudging through the day, very tired. I was still relatively productive, but it took me a little bit. But yeah, it was definitely not what I would consider one of my most productive days. But I mean, you have productive days, you have unproductive days. That's just, you just take them as they come and keep on going. One of those days, exactly, New Fox. All right. Well, as always, we for anybody that may or may not be new, we do have a Discord. Discord is basically a place in between stream to ask questions if you have any on and off stream. And as a note, I am in the process of getting a YouTube channel set up so that I can take these VODs and post them, because I know, like, for example, the first VOD is now expired. The second VOD, I think, is on its way to being expired. So I'll get that up and running and start uploading some VODs here soon. But until next time, thank you everybody so much again for stopping by the lab. I really do appreciate it. It is fun as always. And until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody.